Today's video, we're going to talk about KPIs for pay-per-click campaigns. Here are the most important things to measure when it comes to making money, lots of money, with your pay-per-click ad. PPC campaigns are either lost or won 90% just based upon your preparation. How good you set up the campaigns, how well you understand your numbers, which is where KPIs come in, how well you can track your numbers. That is, do you know you're getting the cost per lead, ROI that you need to be successful with your campaign, have the campaign pay for itself, and be able to scale that campaign up and get to where the real money's made running online ads. Because practically speaking, most people get this totally wrong. Every single campaign that I basically run, it's about getting a small budget, like $100 a day to work, hitting our so-called KPI, certain cost per lead or a certain ROI, and then scaling up the ad budget 10, 20% at a time. Usually about once a month, we'll scale the ad budget up around 15%, hitting the KPI again, but within the next 30 days, then raising the budget again another 15%, and just keeping doing that over and over again to where we're spending $50,000 a month, 3 years down the line, okay? And most of the people that get irritated seeing their competitors, and therefore they're just jealous of them, and they don't like it because they can see them advertising everywhere. They may not have the best service or product, they have a better product or service than them, but they see them advertising everywhere and it pisses them off. But what they don't see is that that small guy got to be big, most likely because they started out with a small campaign, they did what they needed to do to get it working, and then they scaled it up just like I said. But that all starts with knowing your KPIs, having ways to measure it. I'm going to go through how to actually set that up for your brand so you can be the big guy in your space because you understood how to get ads to actually work and scale for your business. And if you stay to the end of the video, I will go through different campaigns, what we made from them, so you can understand different business ideas and how, more importantly, this should actually apply and work for your business as well in terms of ROI, profit, on a couple different use case or case studies that we had of different companies where we scaled up ads using and knowing our KPI system that I'm giving you here. I'm Corey Zyman, owner of Guaranteed PPC. We're a PPC / online advertising agency that guarantees results for our clients. What that guarantee means is we guarantee you more profit from your ad campaigns up front before there's a management fee that we charge at our agency to our clients. The reason why we're able to do that is because A, we know what we're doing, but B, I'm the one doing the strategy on all accounts, and I've been doing ad strategy for online campaigns, thousands of them at this point, over the last 20 years to gather all the knowledge and information I'm sharing with you on today's video. There's no better information or source as it comes to running online ads that you're going to find online, so therefore the information you're going to get here is very useful. With that said, getting into the content here. Of the main KPIs that you are going to want to pay attention to with your ads to know if you're on track and profitable with your starting ad spend, like I gave with the initial scenario that I gave you on this video, comes down to the main 6 things that I mentioned and listed on this whiteboard here, which I'm going to go through one by one. First of all, the first thing that to mention here on this list, which I'm going to go into detail on each one of these, and then so you can understand how to reconstruct a system to scale ads for your business, you got to know, first of all, the first thing to mention here on my list is cost per conversion. Okay, now if you're an e-commerce business, this is obviously less relevant to you, but not necessarily if you sell something for right around $200 in cost. Okay, why? Because most of you guys who are selling a product over $200 in cost, they don't know the business they're in. Their business that they're really in is in sales. That is, you generate leads from your website for people that are asking for information or want to inquire about the product itself. You could be selling customized dog houses. You get people to your website, you want them to check out through the cart, but what you know, because you're in the in now, is you make way more sales when you do everything you can to get them to call, because once they call, they stop looking for dog houses elsewhere. And the longer you talk to them, the more likely they are to buy a doghouse from you. And you have doghouse knowledge to help the user through the purchase of their doghouse that they want to actually buy, that they're in market for. And as a result of that, you're able to monetize the traffic in your niche area more than the competition. Therefore, you can spend way more money than anybody else. Unless you're selling a cheap product, so to say, you got to know that what your cost per conversion needs to be. That is to generate a lead, phone call, form fill, live chat engagement, somebody texting you, which are all ways that you should have for people to respond to you, by the way, if you want to make real money with your ads. You should know what that is up front. Once you obviously know what that is, it gets really easy to create a campaign that's going to scale up to $50,000 a month or whatnot a few years down the road once you've recycled the money that you're making back into the account a few times over. Because obviously, with understanding what your lead closing rates are, that is when you get a phone call, how many turn into a sale, and of the people that turn into a sale, what the average ticket price is, that is how much they spend on the initial transaction, and then what people are going to be expected to spend on their future transactions, you can work out a profitable, where your break-even cost per conversion / cost per lead is. That if you hit that number, the ads will pay for themselves after all your main product or service delivery expenses are taken out, so that once you get to that number, you know you should start working on spending more money and scaling the setup that you have. You can literally speaking, if let's say you had to get you were a plumbing service and you had to get a phone call for $20 to be profitable after paying your guys, after paying the ad spend and all that. In a lot of cases in that scenario, instead of being like, well, let's try to get it to 10 because we want to actually make money, not just break even, we'll scale at 20. You damn well know that if we were able to get 1,000 sales a month at break even, our organic traffic and referrals and all this that we get to coming to our site after that point would just absolutely explode, which is what people don't consider when making an investment in ads. They think the ad itself should make money. You can literally break even on the ads, and literally half of the profit that we make from running Google search ads is just the additional organic traffic we're going to get when we scale up an ad campaign for that client on Google to tens of thousands a month. Plus you get all the referrals of all the customers you got, and you get that as well. In other words, the reason why I'm telling you this, you should find the minimum cost per conversion that you can deal with. And then from there, you try to spend as much as you can on ads at that cost per conversion or less. And if you do that, your business is going to grow regardless. You figure that out in advance. So many people don't want to figure this out in advance. I know because I deal with different business owners all the time. And I say, what's your cost per conversion need to be profitable? Oh, no. Well, cost per conversion. And then, it's like what people want to do is they want to run up with, oh, I got my account and I can make money with my ads here. I'm going to be rich as soon as I put my credit card into my Google Ads account, and I'm going to be just turning this puppy on and I'm going to be rich instantly. And then they turn on their ads and they get some calls. They know they got some calls from Google Ads, but they don't even know if it's profitable or not. And then they say, oh, wonder what my bank account's doing. Oh, my bank account hasn't went up. Oh, doesn't work. Turn off all the ads. If they did all the homework to know that if they were able to get a conversion for $20 and they waited for these leads that they're getting to close, because some leads don't close right away, and then they factored in what future purchases that person would get and factoring in that into what they can pay per conversion, and had a system set up from the get-go to track your cost per conversion, which you can do that through phone call tracking, Google Analytics tracking, and should track every way that a person can respond, you can track. I promise you that. And if you don't know how, leave a comment in the comment section. Then you basically are home free, because what people will expect is their bank account to explode, and they use that as a way to know if their campaigns are working. And unless you have very little competition and a lot of demand for what you sell, your bank account's not going to explode, and it's not going to be so obvious. You're dealing with small margins, and you got to know what your cost per conversion break-even point is in order to justify the ad spend to yourself. And by the way, even more importantly, if you have the tracking system set up before you run your ads and not just be like, I'm going to turn on my ads and get rich, and I'm not going to spend any time setting up my ads or my tracking or nothing, which is the typical person's experience. They think they're going to set up their ads in 15 minutes and they're going to be a freaking billionaire overnight. You set up your tracking before you begin. You understand what your cost per conversion needs to be before you begin. You get into it 90 days, you may say, I needed a $20 cost per conversion, I'm paying $50 here. At least then you could go into your account, find the part of the account that didn't produce a $20 cost per conversion, surgically cut it out, and now you've got an account that produces $20 cost per conversion, which may be only 10% of what you were pulling in. That's fine, but at least you can now advertise another day, take what you're making from that 10% that's left, try another thing, and go through the same process there. Advertise, more in this other place, find out the 10% that truly works, keep it, try advertising in this other place over here, and you do that again and again and again. This is how true fortunes are made online running ads for online businesses. People think that, again, the typical experience is I should be able to set up my ad in 15 minutes and it should work. And if it doesn't, Google and Facebook, and if it were that easy, everybody would be freaking rich. Nothing in life that is that easy is worth anything. You actually have to put some money into ads, generally speaking, to find out what doesn't work till you can find out what does work. People think that it's like a light switch. Just turn the ads on, it should be instantly working. If it isn't, it's a scam, turn it off. And that's just complete false thinking. Even myself that's been doing ads for 20 years, 90% of the time, it's not gonna work like that. I gotta advertise for a few months to figure out exactly what to weed out till we hit our cost per conversion that we need. But it's all worth it because once you do, even if it takes you 6 months to get it going, it's where you hit your cost per conversion and you pissed away 20 grand to get there up front, you're gonna run that campaign for the next 10 years. So you will be making 20 grand a month in year 5 to wipe out that entire 20 grand you spent up front to hit your break-even cost per conversion. You gotta put it all into perspective. Most people wanna make money before they spend money. And when it comes to running the ads, it's not necessarily like that, because this isn't a magazine ad that you run and it either works or it doesn't. There's algorithms involved. You have to spend money, get some data going in your account for the systems to know how to run your ads profitably, and for you as an advertiser to go through the 5,000 different levers and switches in your account and find the 2,000 in there that worked versus the 3,000 that didn't. By time of the day of the week, keyword, state, city, country. Does the person like fast food? Does the person, are they married? Are they rich? Are they poor? And once you break it down enough, they'll be, as long as you're getting some sales, you'll find, or some leads I should say, you'll find some place in that what you did that got you the cost per conversion you want. It's just not obvious until you ran your ads for a little while. The better, more experienced of an advertiser you are, the quicker you get there, certainly. But again, even the pros like myself, it takes time most of the time to get there. So cost per conversion, you need to know what it is up front, or you should know what it is up front before you even start advertising, and you gotta have a way to track it. I don't care how much you think you don't need to track your leads, you do, because you gotta know if it's profitable or not so you can scale, and all the money, frankly, is in the scaling part. 99% of the money is in the scaling part. And by the way, the algorithms that run the ads on Google, Facebook, and on these main platforms, they use the data about what's producing a lead and not producing a lead for you to get you more damn leads. And if you don't tell them what's working for you, you're expecting the platforms to make you money when they don't have all the tools they need. If you feed in information about what's turning into a lead for you, it can figure out patterns of a person that match a person that turns into a lead versus doesn't turn into a lead, and then weed out the people that look like a person who doesn't turn into a lead in the past. That isn't, what's common is people that are low income. They don't turn into leads very often, or at a rate that's going to get your cost per conversion you need. Well, the system will see that even if you don't see it as a human optimizer of your ads. Now the system can get you a cost per lead at the rate that you need. So anyway, with that said, the next KPI to pay attention to is ROAS, or return on an account spend. This is simply revenue divided by ad spend. If you're doing product sales under $200, contradiction to the cost per conversion that you should be paying attention to. If you sell products over, you use that to see if your ads are working. You got to know what that, like with cost per conversion, you should know what that is up front, that you need to be profitable so you know when you can scale, and you got to have a way to track it. Frankly, if you sell products on an e-commerce site, you should be tracking ROAS and cost per conversion. If you sell products over $200, you need to be using cost per conversion in addition with your ROAS tracking or KPI tracking to get you the most results, because you use the call tracking and all that as a micro conversion to help steer your ads. The algorithms are going to get you results with your ads and your ad spend much quicker. But also, if anybody takes and orders offline. You take orders through the phone. You want to take the orders that come through the phone through the call tracking program that you have that, we use CallRail for that. You take the sales, you bring them back to your ad platform, whether that be Facebook, Google, Microsoft/Bing, and then those platforms can add the cart sales you get to the sales that came through the phone together to get and understand how to get you the results. And it has the full data, the full picture about what is bringing you the results that you need and what's not. The next thing to pay attention to is blended ROAS, or total ROAS would be all your advertising app platforms together divided by your total sales between all those ad platforms. I didn't exactly write this right, but basically what people do is they say, well, Facebook doesn't work, only Google does. Well, the reality is they wouldn't have had a lot of their Google sales if they didn't have their Facebook ads running, because they found out about their solution and about them on Facebook. Then they later on, 3 weeks later when they got paid or they were ready, they went to Google directly and then they bought. And vice versa. A lot of people that find you on Google wouldn't have bought from you if you didn't have ads on Facebook running later on to get them the rest of the way to a purchase. Instead of looking through a straw and thinking that customers don't go through a process in order to buy from you, you do know this, and it's going to be even more so the more expensive a product or service you have that you're selling, and you assume that Facebook has part of the job of selling to a person and Google has part of the job. And they work together as a team to get the most customers out of your market as possible. Same thing when you add YouTube ads in, same thing when you add in like demand gen campaigns. And so you take ROI that you're getting from all the trackable sales you're getting through all the ad platforms you have, and you divide that by total ad spend between all those ad platforms, and that's your blended ROAS. When you understand what your ROAS needs to be profitable, you should really be saying to yourself, yeah, this one, this platform doesn't have the ROAS we want, but my blended ROAS is where it needs to be. And I understand that if I didn't have Facebook running, I wouldn't have the sales volume we had at the ROAS that we need. So we're going to keep it going. And if you have to prove this to yourself, by the way, whether Facebook does contribute to your overall total sales that you are getting, you simply shut off your Facebook ads in that situation for half the country or even one state and just see after 90 days how that affected the sales in that state where it was shut off versus it was running. The reality is every single campaign that we run, basically speaking, if we're selling something over $100 in cost, we're running remarketing ads. That is ads that show up for people after they got to the site. And that helps support any traffic we're driving to the site to get them to buy from us at the highest rate possible still. And a lot of people think those remarketing ads don't work because people don't see the ad, click through, and buy instantly. The most of the effect that they have is people seeing the ads, internalizing the information, and then when they do go to buy a few weeks later and they say, shoot, I cannot delay my rug purchase any longer, you are thought of first. And then they're going to be more likely to buy from you. So what you do is you get in with them early once you know they're in market for that product or service, and then you stay with them until they're ready to buy. That's going to make you twice as much money than letting them, when they start to get in market for what you sell, trying to take a whack at them and then just give up on them after, which is what most people want to do because they don't see the ROAS of a YouTube ad that shows up for somebody after they've been to your site pay off for them, so they just don't run it, which they know as a consumer, they buy from customers that they've seen their ads everywhere. So why don't people convince themselves that this also works for their own product or service as well? Along with that, which before I move on as well, Lifetimely is a lifetime value tool for Shopify. You should be using a tool like that to track the lifetime value of a customer. So you could take the lifetime value of a customer from all the customers you got from your ad divided by the ad spend that you've spent on those same ads to get your true ROAS, because a lot of people, they still to this day come to our firm and they want us to make money for them on like a skincare product, and they want the initial sale to pay for the ad spend. And then all the other sales they're going to get from that person in the future is all just gravy or icing on the cake. And if it were that easy, their competition would have already took up all those customers a long time ago. In order to make money in the skincare space, you got to be able to have a good enough product and a good enough follow-up sales process to get the person to buy 6 more times, roughly, to pay for the cost of the ad spend. And then anything after the 6th purchase is profit. And a lot of people will look at that and scoff and say, oh, I can't afford to do that. Well, look how much money there is at stake if you do get this to work. Millions and millions and millions of dollars is on the line. Do you think if it costs no money to get started and you could put 50 bucks into this so-called machine of running ads on Google and it would instantly turn out 100 so you could then spend on the next 50 that you needed in ad spend, and that's all it took to get it all kickstarted, it would be available to you right now? The person who can go the longest before needing a return, generally speaking, is the one that's going to win, because so many people are so short-sighted in their thinking like that most of the competition will just never try, because they just say, well, it costs so much to get a customer. Well, the value is there if you are able to serve the customer and you look at what the lifetime value of a customer actually is, and you wait 6 months for the rest of the purchases to come in that you are going to expect from that person, and you have a good quality product and good customer service so people actually come back. That's where the money's truly made. And so if you're any kind of business where you rely on repeat customers, you need to track the lifetime value of a customer and use that as a tool to see what your ROAS is, looking at that divided by your ad spend to know if you're on track, given that if you only expect to make money on the initial purchase to meet your minimum ROAS target, you're probably not going to do it, because your main competition is going to consider what the value of a customer is and use that to justify if an ad works or not. And you're not, and therefore you are going to be priced out of the ad space. The next thing to mention is in terms of KPIs is MER ratios. So MER ratio means marketing efficiency ratio. That is, now we're going to, instead of talking about total sales from ad spend and all the lifetime value of those customers divided by ad spend to see, and using that as an indicator if you're on track, you're profitable, so you know if you can get to the next level with your scaling of your ad spend. You got total sales at your company divided by total ad spend. Total sales meaning from all sources, meaning everything that's hitting your bank account. For e-commerce players, this is ultra important. Why? Because it takes so long to get the value out of a customer in terms of their future purchases, assuming you sell something people buy actually more than once. And also the time it takes from someone that's initially going to research a product to the time that they buy, that if you don't use a MER ratio and have a target to maintain a certain MER ratio as you scale, it'll be too hard to scale. It's too competitive in their market. You got to be able to understand that, okay, as long as I have an 8-to-1 ratio of total sales to ad spend, I can actually spend an unlimited amount and go that route, versus having to see inside your ad account that, your ad says you're getting an 8-to-1 ratio of, sales to ad spend, because again, it takes time to get the value out of that ad. You got people are going to delay their purchases. They're going to, it takes time for them to buy again from you to get the full value out of them. It also, going back to what I was saying before, is it takes time to get the organic rankings you're going to get that's going to subsidize the cost of running that ad. It's going to take time to get the referrals out of that customer which partially subsidizes that ad. And this takes time to get out of the dollar you spend today, full value of it doesn't come for 3 years altogether when you look at everything. And then on top of that, also the ad platforms are notoriously going to undercount the purchases you get from your cart between 1/3 and 2/3 because of the limitations with cookie tracking and everything else. So if you're waiting for your ad account in Google or Facebook to say you got an 8-to-1 return, you're never going to get it, because when it says a 4-to-1 return, you're actually getting 8. So that's another thing that people generally mess up on. But because of all those reasons, most e-commerce business owners that are super successful literally are using the MER ratio method. Can get this $8 in sales for every dollar in ad spend. I'm profitable, and I'll spend more on ads on an unlimited basis as long as I keep that 8-to-1 ratio. The detractors are going to say, oh, how could you say your ads are doing it, because those sales could have came in from anywhere. The reality is, at the end of the day, when the rubber meets the road, you're trying to grow this company, and the easiest way to grow it is to be able to throw as much ad spend at it as possible, because that means more awareness. And the quickest way you're going to do that is when money's available to do it. If you figure out what that MER ratio is up front before you put together your campaigns and before you put a plan together to scale ads for your business, then it becomes easy. All you got to do is do everything you can on your starting ad budget to get to that ratio. When you hit it, raise the ad budget 15%, Keep optimizing that new ad spend until you hit that ratio again, then raise the ad budget another 15% and just do that again. And the more you do, the more you study this channel and all the content I have on it about how to make the next increase you did get to back to the ratio of total sales to ad spend, the quicker you're going to scale. What people will try to do is they'll try to copy their competitors and say, hey, if it's working for them, it'll work for me. The reality is most people barely try in terms of setting up their ads. And if you go ahead and just do better than them, you're going to get to the end result you want way faster. Because, the ad spend is expensive. And so you want to get the most value you can out of the ad spend. Well, the way you do that is going further for the customer in terms of communicating your value. So it's more clear what you're offering, because the default thinking of they should just understand is basically stupid. You got to assume that they're like a 2-year-old and you got to explain it to them in such simple terms that they can't possibly not get it. And the closer you get to that, the more conversion you're going to get out of each ad click and the faster you're going to be able to scale the ad spend as a result. So MER ratio. And then the other KPI to look at is, of course, bounce rates and time on site. By the way, if you need to put together and figure out what your ratios need to be and what you should be looking at, more importantly, for your niche market, reach out to me at my firm at guaranteedppc.com. I'll tell you if we've worked in your niche market and what kind of results we got for it. We worked in over 100 niche markets before in the last 10 years, and we can tell you what results we got so you know what to go for. And if we worked in your niche market and it really is directly, like what you were doing before, we can sell you the ad templates, the ads, the campaign templates, the landing page templates, all of it. Copy paste those into your account and you'll get the same results we got. So you not only know what to expect, but there's no work involved anymore. You literally use what we're using and you'll get great results. So if you're interested in that, you can also reach out to me. Furthermore, though, beyond that as well, we can also, even if we haven't worked in your niche market, we'll be able to tell you roughly what we've done that's as close to what you're doing as possible to give you a general idea of what's more acceptable. Because obviously you can want any ROI/ROAS target you want, but if you set it too high, it'll take you forever and a day to scale. So you want to set the target as low as possible that's still profitable for you, because you'll make more money sooner. You'll make more money by year 5 with a lower target than you will with a super high target. You can always raise your ROAS target down the line once you're a mature company, because it's easy to do that once you have repeat customers, your referrals and all that, subsidizing what you're doing with your ad spend to find new customers and to bring new awareness in your market. But anyway, if you want to ultimately have to know what you can get, you can reach out to me. I can tell you what you should be able to get from a product or service like yours. We also can offer you a guarantee of results. That is, if we agree that we want to work with you and you have something that looks like it could do really well, we'll set up all your ads, we'll build you a brilliant campaign, and we won't take a management fee until we get you a certain minimum level of increase in profitability or a certain level of profitability with your stuff up front, because that's our signature offer that we offer at our firm. We can offer that to you as well. We don't work with just any client out there or company, but if you want to see if we can do that for you, at the very least, you can reach out and we can discuss it and potentially and just entertain it. Getting back to the content here on bounce rates and time on site. So before, you certainly should do everything I mentioned here. Know what your cost per conversion needs to be, what your ROAS number needs to be by platform, like overall, and what your MER ratio needs to be. Once you got all that in place, to know that if you're on the track as well, you should know that most of the successful campaigns that I've ever worked on, the bounce rates on the traffic that we're driving to our landing pages or site is between 40 and 60% if it's going to work, if it's going to be profitable. Similar to that, the average time on the site that we're getting is an average of at least 2 minutes. And why these two things will indicate that you did two things right, that you're getting the right traffic to your site and the site is set up right, that it's clear and it's informative and engaging and entertaining. Don't have these metrics. You need to improve the traffic stream, because it doesn't matter how good the website is. If it's the wrong person that got there, you're going to have a high bounce and they're not going to stay. And you got the traffic optimized. You're looking at how people are searching. It's people that are in market for what you sell. Then you need to add more content and and or clean up the content that's there to get rid of stuff that's not necessary and lay it out in a more simple to digest format. Because that also is something that people don't consider how it affects their conversion rates. You got to be able to make it so simple a 10-year-old kid can understand it, literally. And there's usually not that many things that they need. But what they do need needs to be so obvious. Most people just can't possibly get confused or screw it up. Adding more content can be, a review from a customer, review from an influencer, a review from a news station, stuff that will build credibility of what you offer and you as a company. And adding that to your page so that when you start saying you can lose 50 pounds overnight, they believe you more because you were on the news, and that will increase your time on site. So anyway, in terms of KPIs, you want to pay attention to these two things. If we're talking about Google Ads, you can actually link your Google Analytics account to your Google Ads account. And then in the campaigns menu and whatnot, you can adjust your columns and actually see your bounce rates and your time on site metrics by campaign, by ad, and so forth to see if you're at these thresholds. And if you're not, before you even worry about if you're hitting your cost per lead or not, or to make it happen as soon as possible, you get your bounce rates down to where they need to be and get your time on the site where it needs to be. And you'll save tons of time and make it way easier on yourself. And if you don't have it, because you look at this first because you get immediate feedback, whereas it can take easily months to get to a certain cost per conversion on your campaigns up front, you'll know if you hit these numbers after like 200 clicks. And so in a week, you could already know if your targeting overall is good enough to cut the mustard, and is your website/landing page good enough to cut the mustard. And if it's not, you shut it down after a week. You revisit where you should be targeting your ads and what needs to be on your website to get people that do get there, that are good candidates, to stay on there long enough, because the longer they stay, the more likely they are to be to convert. If your website's confusing or there's not enough good content on there to convince them, then they're not going to stay and you're not going to have a chance to sell to them, even though they're a good candidate for what you sell. So these two are great secondary metrics that I use up front. Once you know you hit your numbers here, then all this other stuff I talked about first comes into play. Or if you're setting up a new traffic source, you can also use these two to see before you actually get any conversion data, is it likely to hit your cost per conversion or not? So that's specifically what that will do for you there. If you have any questions, by the way, about anything I'm covering here today, leave me a comment below. I get back to every single person who leaves me a question or comment on this channel, usually within about 24 hours time. Beyond that as well, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, what are you doing? If you're serious about making money online with online advertising, millions of dollars a year for your business, there's no better other source of information that you're going to get online other than on this channel, as it's coming from somebody who does this as a full-time job. Literally speaking, I spend 40 hours a week doing ad strategy for dozens of clients. We're making millions of dollars for dozens of clients. You're getting it straight from the source. If you're going to pay attention to anything, I'm going to pay attention to the information on this channel, even though I'm not making it sound easy, it's the real. And the people that do make it sound easy, they're not even running any ads. They're selling courses. They don't even know how to run a business. And if you're going to pay attention to anything, you pay attention to this information first. You're going to help yourself out. Beyond that, I also, by the way, have a great blog. You should check out my blog at guaranteedppc.com/blog. The blog itself, if you like the channel, the blog actually has more in-depth step-by-step tutorials there with screenshots, with everything you need to use the strategies, aka campaigns that we run that will guarantee results for our clients. You'll really appreciate that information as well. Almost everybody who does check that blog out that has subscribed like that as well. Beyond that, okay, I mentioned at the start of this video that I would go into a couple case studies as well if you'd watch to the end here on the type of results that you can expect and would get on when you basically are put these principles to work, if you will. Okay, we had a plumbing services company, and with the plumbing services company, it was a regional company, all right? We were able to get the cost per lead for that plumbing services company down to right around $50 a lead for that company, which in and itself may sound high, but the average ticket size for a plumbing customer is somewhere around $600. So we're getting over a 10-to-1 return on the initial customer that we got by setting up search campaigns the right way. And when I say the right way, the secret to do it in that space is to set up separate campaigns for every type of plumbing problem that there is, which very few people are going to do in that space. And in general, as it applies to their own markets, they don't do this. If they sell pottery making supplies, they target pottery making supply company, pottery supplies, whatever, not 4 horsepower pottery wheels for sale, and then directing them to the 4 horsepower pottery wheel page on their site. And if they don't have one, the search results page that has all of them that are there listed there, just so they don't have to think very hard to find exactly what they were originally looking for. The easier you make it on your consumer, the more likely they are going to buy, and therefore the higher the ROI you can expect from your ads. The more work you put in, the more money you make. It's directly proportional to each other. That is if you're working smart still, which how to work smart is simple because you just watch the content on this channel. It tells you exactly what you need. But anyway, with that, we would set up campaigns for broken toilet repair, sewer line repair, reset toilet service. And because most of the time in most of these local markets, nobody had an ad that said toilet reset service, when there's 4 ads at the top of Google to pick from, and they typed in toilet reset service, and our ad says it, and the rest of the ads are like plumbing services, plumbing company, whatever, whose ad do you think they click on 90% of the time? Because of that, and if you know anything about click-through rate affects cost per click, you know if you can get that much of an increase in click-through rate, your cost per click is going to go way, way down, and that's how you get a $50 cost per lead when the average guy is going to be spending hundreds. And for jobs that are worth a lot still, not just piddly little stuff. So anyway, that is one particular case study where we understood, because I specifically asked the customer, as I do on any engagement up front, what is a customer worth? Which customers, more importantly, on top of that are worth more than others? And then we set up corresponding campaigns for each service that generated a fairly large job size so that we knew at the other end of this, we can A, pay more per lead and still make money, but B, just have more potential to make more profit overall on anything that we were starting with. Because on a starting budget, why not go after the stuff that's most likely to make us the most money first? And we can go after the stuff that's likely to be least profitable later on down the line and can get that still, but we'll probably need some more runway to optimize that and find out what part of the services that don't make very much are actually worth going after. That is, people in a certain income of neighborhood or whatever it is. Anyway, that's what we did there. We understood what the value of a customer is for certain services, targeted them individually, understood what we could pay for a lead for each service individually, and set up a campaign for each service, and then had a different target cost per lead or target cost per conversion by service to max out and wring out the maximum value we could get out of each service and each geographic area that we were in with that campaign, with that plumbing company. So anyway, that's a really good case study that we had that explains, once you understand and you do really study what numbers you need, and then pair that with the understanding that how to do an ad better than your competition, it's almost impossible to not be able to make money with running Google ads or even other ads online for your business. Okay. We also had a cosmetic company. We're talking about blended ROAS here. Okay. Ran ads on a ton of different platforms: Microsoft, Facebook, Google, Rev Content, Taboola, Outbrain, AdRoll. Basically, what you should be doing as a business owner is, once you get in the groove and you understand what your ROAS needs to be, you hit profitability on a certain platform, spin up. Once it isn't so easy to scale your ad spend up more and keep the ROAS where it needs to be, you find a different place to run an ad, a different platform if you need be. And your goal is just to test every place to run an ad in the entire internet so you can make the most money that you can. And that's what we did for this cosmetic company. And then with that though, as I was talking about before, so we needed to only get about a 2.5% or 2.5 ROAS or 250% ROAS to be profitable with this cosmetic company. Cosmetics are different. You don't need quite the same ROAS as you normally would with like an typical e-commerce product company. So with that said, we looking at AdRoll, okay, ROAS that we were seeing from that is about half of the 250% ROAS that we needed to be profitable. I told this particular client that, because he was questioning it, why are we running Adderall? Why are we running it? Why are we running it? It's like, well, if you don't do any follow-up in the people that are that are coming to your website, you're not going to make as much money from those people coming to the site because they're going to buy from a competitor at a higher rate than if you did no follow-up. This is tied to the power of sevens in marketing, which you can look up if you want, which says you'll make more money, generally speaking, advertising to fewer people more times than more people, but only once. And that becomes more and more true the bigger the decision it is for a person to buy from your market. If they're spending hundreds of dollars, it's pretty important. If they're spending thousands, it's ultra important to do follow-up. To increase what you can spend on the front end per click or per CPM to get people to your site, because it's going to pay off at a much higher rate because you got the follow-up done. So it takes traffic you drive to your site and makes it more productive. It doesn't necessarily get people that have been to your site to convert well, because people see a remarketing ad, whether it be a video or a banner, they don't see it and be like, oh, hot diggity damn, I'm going to go buy this product instantly. I was reading an article, but you know what? This testimonial is awesome. I'm going to buy it right now. They see it, they internalize it. 2 weeks later when they get paid, they were going to buy from somebody. They think of you first and you got the sale because you did the follow-up. Anyway, with that said, I said to this particular client, going back to the story at hand here, before we shut off and give up on ad roll, usually if a client says that I'm wrong, I like to set up a test to prove them wrong, as arrogant and whatnot that I am. And we'll shut off the traffic to everything but a certain state. And we'll show you what the blended ROAS is for everything in that state versus the rest of the country. Okay, and guess what happened when we did that? The total blended ROAS was over 250% across the board, like it needed to be profitable for this company and for this client, with ad roll running. Okay, we shut off ad roll. Blended ROAS dipped under 250% outside the state that the ad roll ads weren't running, which ad roll, just to clarify again, it's purely remarketing. Ads that show to people who have been to your site before, that's what it's for. That's what they specialize in. The blended ROAS for the people outside the state went down to about 210%. So it has a huge impact. Remarketing has a huge impact on the ROI of traffic you're driving to your site if you don't have it. And this is actually for an item that is only about $100. We've had situations where you're talking about an item that's a couple thousand. That remarketing literally doubles the ROI that we're getting on traffic we're driving to the site. And yes, it has its own cost itself to have an ad show up for somebody you've already paid to get to your site, but it's so little that in the grand scheme of things, it's irrelevant, because you can have a banner ad show up for somebody for like 0.2 cents. You can literally have a banner ad show up for someone 100 times with testimonials and mentions that you've gotten in magazines and whatnot. 100 times, if you will, and it only cost you 20 cents per person. And when you're spending $1 to get on your website and you don't spend an extra 20 cents to have 100 follow-ups with the person, that's exactly why it drops your ROI. There's such a good value on it. You have to do it right? You can't just be doing it the dumbass way that everybody does, where you just have the product there and they say, are you ready to buy? No, how about now? No, how about now? No, how about now? You actually do what I mentioned, and you actually have your mentions in media just on an ad. And this is where people go wrong, because they say my ads don't work. You've been mentioned in a magazine. You want them to know that, so that when they are ready to buy, they buy from you. That ad that has that mention isn't asking people to buy. So there's no call to action there, but it's meant so that when they see that ad and then the message on this one and this one and this one and this one and this one, cumulatively, they saw all those messages. It makes them, if they are going to buy from somebody in your space, they're going to buy from you now. Or they're most likely to buy from you than somebody else, because you did all that. If you go to my site, you'll see a perfect example of this. I have like 30, 40 different remarketing ads that show up for people who reach our agency's website. Why? Because I know if you're in market for an agency, you're usually not going to make a decision on it right away. And if you're going to say, a day is going to come where you're going to say, shoot, I cannot delay this purchase any longer, or decision to go with an agency, you think of me first at that point in time. And then I won at that point in time. And it's even more lucrative in our situation because a client's worth a lot more. So when it costs a fraction of a penny to do a follow-up, I literally can follow up 5,000 times and I'm still getting a, astronomical ROI on our money that we're spending to do that follow-up. Hopefully that made sense. Appreciate you watching as usual. If you have any questions, leave me a comment in the comment section and I'll see you on the next one.
Remember when I said cost per conversion was important during this video? Well, this video here tells you how to do it.